How do you think branch banking has evolved, especially post-COVID? And what are the challenges and opportunities that it presents for the banks, both traditional and fintechs and small finance banks from a branch banking perspective? I was reading an article the other day from Mint, which talked about branch banking coming back to its power, with a lot of banks now increasing their footprint. So what is the new purpose that branches can establish themselves with as we get on with?
I think to some extent, the way I see it, Alok and the rest of the team, is actually, yes, branch banking has been evolving over the last few years. COVID may have precipitated some of it. COVID may have kind of accelerated some of it. But I think at the end of the day, it's been evolving over the last few years. From a federal bank perspective, I think the couple of mantras or things tenets that we believe in, which I think captures this very well, is the first one is we say, we've been saying now for a few years, branch light, distribution heavy. What we really mean by that is, branches have a role to play. They are areas that we will continue to invest in. They may not look and feel the same way that they were in the 1990s or the early 2000s, but they do have a role to play. At the same time, there is an increased propensity or need to invest in other channels of distribution, and that's where what traditionally started as relationship managers, call centers, etc., has moved beyond that to fintech partnerships. The second kind of tenet we work and practice is digital at the fore, human at the core. So all of digital technologies will be available and continue to be available at the front end. Having said that, at the end of it, there is a human element to this. There is a human element in how you approach a customer and how you work through a customer. It varies by customer segment. It varies by the kind of products we're talking about. So I'll give you a couple of examples of it so that I think that brings it a little more to light. For a few years now, most banks in India have evolved to a stage where accounts for individual customers are opened literally online. There's very little of paper, etc. But if you look at the more recent past and look at the last 1 year, from a federal bank perspective, we were doing about 4,000 accounts per day from our branches, a mix of current savings, etc. And we continue to do that. But with our two partnerships that we have on fintech, we're now between the two partners, we're doing about 14,000 accounts per day in a completely digital fashion, where using the architecture that the UID AI and others have provided, we're able to onboard these customers in a very seamless manner. So the point on that one that I'm making is the role of the branch has not disappeared. We still have those 4,000 accounts. There is a certain profile that comes through those 4,000 accounts, but the profile that comes through the 14,000 is quite different. The 14,000 are more the salaried millennials, digital native, probably born with a mobile phone in their hand. But there are millions of other customers who like the interface that the branch provides, and therefore we've been able to add to our volume rather than detract from the volume. So it's not that the 4,000 has gone down, etc. Another example is what we've done with the non-individual SME segment, which, Alok, as you know, is a little more difficult to onboard in a purely digital fashion. So there we've launched something called Federal Insta Loans, which is for our SME customers, which provides an in-principle approval. So you can do a complete digital experience with a connect into GSTN, with a connect into account aggregator / Perfios and tools like that. But you can only get it to a stage of an in-principle approval. The loan process does require the customer to have some level of interface with the branch thereafter to understand the nuances of how the product has to be structured. Should it be an overdraft, or should it be a term loan? Should it be a cash credit? What should it be? All of that requires a human interface. So the overarching kind of point that I'm making is, branch banking has evolved. What you see branches doing, what you had branches doing 3-4 years back is not what they're doing today. Having said that, branches still have a very valid role to play. The skill sets that are required, the capabilities that are required have evolved from opening just a normal savings account to the more evolved stuff like the SME lending propositions, the wealth management propositions, the insurance propositions, etc. And my personal view, as well as my bank's view, is that is not going to change in the foreseeable future. In fact, this year, we're actually expanding our branch presence by another 60, 70 branches across the length and breadth of India. So, in my view, branches have a role to play. And it's just that they change the complexion of the kind of products that we will sell through them and the nature of the interface with the customer.